Hey everyone, this is Shawn Garrett, founding attorney of Garrett PLC and founder of the Legal Eagle podcast. As you know, my goal with this podcast is not to brain dump complex business law and tax concepts, but instead, I'm here to highlight some of the entrepreneurs and business leaders in the communities that I serve. I'm licensed to practice law in North Carolina, South Carolina, Illinois, and Missouri. So many of these stories will be coming from Charlotte, Greenville, Chicago, and St. Louis. I do have to apologize today. I'm in a hotel. I'm traveling for the American Bar Association Business Law Conference, trying to soak up all sorts of new developments in the world of business law and federal law to disseminate to you all. But today we have a very important guest that I've been waiting to talk to for a while. We have Nick Whitney, professional EOS implementer, helping businesses simplify, clarify, and achieve their vision. Nick, thank you so much for joining the podcast.
Man, I'm excited and never apologize for a continuous learning, man. Like that big, beautiful brain of yours is one of your unique abilities. I love that you embrace it.
Definitely. Thanks. I appreciate that. Well, let's start at the beginning. However early you want to go. Tell us about yourself. Who is Nick Whitney?
Yeah. Professionally, my first real job out of college was with a family company. And I was quickly elevated to the leadership team, sitting in the marketing seat as we decided to take this brand national. And I had no business doing what I was doing. Looking back, the family that I worked for, which wasn't my family, they really gave me a lot of freedom and a lot of trust. I was competing with national brands. It was an ice cream company called Graders. Awesome family, awesome product. But I was competing for shelf space with Ben and Jerry's, who's owned by Unilever, and I was competing for shelf space with Haagen-Dazs, who's owned by Nestle. These big conglomerates, right? I was in my mid-20s. The individuals who I was competing against, they were doing what I was doing literally before I was born, right? They had this institutional knowledge and these deep relationships. And I bring that up because I knew the only way for me to get an edge, right, outside of the awesome brand and the awesome product, was to know all the latest and greatest theories and practices in marketing, advertising, business, management, leadership. So I became a student. I became a student of everything business related. And after 20 awesome years there, I moved on into consulting, right, where I took these theories and started to put them into practice, working with small to mid-sized businesses to help them grow their sales and better their marketing. Then I caught the entrepreneurial bug, right? Entrepreneurs, the energy that is just it's so contagious, right? And I was like, oh, I can do this. I can do this. It's easy. So I decided to open up a pizza shop, build my own brand from scratch. And I had
No
never
way.
worked a
That's
restaurant a
awesome.
day in my life. And I jumped into the entrepreneurial life. And yeah, it's not very easy. It's time consuming.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pitfalls that are easy to fall into. So eventually I implemented what was called EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System. I sold, had a successful exit, and I decided I want to get back into working with small to mid-sized businesses again. And EOS worked really, really well for my business. So I thought, hey, let me help others and teach them and facilitate and help coach them through the process. So that brings me here today, here in Charlotte.
Nick, that's amazing. I love that. I never knew you owned a pizza shop. Tell us a little bit more about that. Superficially, what type of pizzas were you making? Were they Chicago, New York style? What kind of style did you have? And I'll get into some more of the details about running the business after that.
Yeah, the pizza itself, it looked like New York. Let me back up for a moment. So I mentioned I
Okay.
was working with small to mid-sized businesses. Well, one of the organizations that I worked with were the World Pizza Champion Team. So this is a
Oh
group
no.
of pizzaiolos who like traveled the world to compete in competitions, right, and see who makes the best pizza. And I picked up some tricks along the way. They taught me how to work with dough and sauce and so I kind of had a little bit of background on how to make a really good pizza. I also worked with a couple of the national chains, or I should say regional chains, because none were national. But I saw what they did really well, right? They were really, really good at building brands. They're really, really good at processes and developing teams and incorporating technology. So I thought, what if you could take like this artisanal way of making pizza and match it with all the other stuff that makes these chains successful? So that's where Gulf Coast Pizza was came from. It was Gulf
That's
Coast of
awesome.
Florida,
Okay.
mile right less than a mile from Venice Beach, just south of Sarasota. And it's a very transient area, right? Like a lot of people similar to where I live now in Charlotte, aren't from that area, and they bring in all of their culinary, their culture, everything kind of comes together. So I thought, what if we could take the best of all these different regions and combine them into one pizza? So it looks like New York style pizza, right? Someone from New York or New Jersey, New York City specifically would come in and say, "Oh yeah, that looks like what I would do." But they look at it, they would smell it, right? They would smell the cheese. It wasn't just mozzarella like you use in New York style. There's provolone added to it, right? That's very popular in the Midwest. The sauce, right, was much more robust. I grew basil out front and added oregano and these tomatoes. It was an awesome sauce. But the key differentiator was the sourdough crust. I worked with a bakery in San Francisco, and I got some of their sourdough starter and thought, hey, what if we could make this into pizza crust? And it was beautiful. It was eggshell crispy on the outside and nice and pillowy on the inside. Can you tell I'm still a little bit passionate about it? So that was kind of pizza. It was cut into triangles, right? But it was kind of a blend of all these ingredients from around the country.
That is amazing. And when you said sourdough starter, I recently learned that you do need a starter for sourdough. There's some sourdough starters that have been around for, I'm not going to be hyperbolic, but a very, very, very long time. So that's really, really cool. And maybe you and I should get on a separate podcast and talk food, because we could probably talk about it for a long time. I take it. But one of the things that I really liked hearing about you starting your own pizza shop, I saw a lot of what makes you a really good EOS implementer in how you started your pizza shop. You mentioned you took what a lot of other people were doing very well and you combined it into its perfect self. So when you were working with all these other companies and really figuring out, who you were as a person, did you realize that that was your skill set and your strong suit, or did you just kind of develop that and naturally flow into that as you were becoming a professional?
Yeah, I instinctively knew it, but I never really articulated it. And then when I exited my business, as I was figuring out what I was doing next, that's when I did a lot of self-reflection, a lot of meditation, a lot of clarity breaks. Ikigai, the Japanese concept for your reason, your purpose, right? It's a Venn diagram with four circles, right? Circle number one, it's deep reflection on what are you great at, right? Circle number two, it's what do you love to do? Circle number three, what does the world need? And circle number four, how can you get paid, right? And I really took a lot of time to think about what is my center, right? What am I great at? And I thought, yeah, it's teaching, it's communicating, it's facilitating. What do I love to do, right? I love helping people achieve their goals. What does the world need, right? The world needs our small entrepreneurs to succeed, right? The backbone of our economy, and so many don't, so many don't. And then how to get paid, right? There's some money in there, right? So it was after I sold, because before I was living life without intention, right? I was like, yeah, this seems like a good idea, let's do it, right? This seems like a good idea, let's do it. Instead of what do I want, right? What's the best way I can be the best version of myself, to be the best man, the best father? And that deep reflection brought me to what I'm doing here now.
Well, let's get into the weeds of EOS. And when I mean the weeds, I don't mean the roots, but let's get into, what is EOS? You and I have been tossing around this acronym. And of course, I've gone through the program and I absolutely love EOS. But let's talk about what EOS is and how you help business owners implement.
So EOS, it stands for the Entrepreneurial Operating System. And all that means, it's a framework, right, with simple, practical tools to help entrepreneurs, right, especially if they have organizations of 10 to 250 employees. It helps them achieve vision, traction, and healthy, right? These tools help them with their vision, getting everyone on the same page of who they are, where they're going, how they're going to get there. Right? Traction, it's executing that vision, right? Instilling focus, discipline, and accountability. And healthy is building healthy, cohesive, functional teams and a healthy culture. And that starts with the leadership team. As the leadership team goes, so does the rest of the organization. So eventually, EOS gets rolled out to the whole company. So everyone in the organization is on the same page of where they're going, how they're going to get there. They understand how their day-to-day decisions are driving that vision. Everyone is communicating properly because they have traction, and they know what they are focusing on, their priorities. And then healthy, it's a place where everyone loves to work. Everyone is passionate about helping the company achieve its vision, and it's bringing in the right people and repelling the wrong people for that company.
Yeah, one of the firms the firm that I worked at prior to starting my business, they implemented EOS. And what was amazing to me, and still is amazing, I quoted EOS yesterday. I think I quote EOS almost weekly. Someone was telling me how they're, growing their business and they're really trying to figure out how to take it to that next level. And my quote was always delegate to elevate. You have to delegate your tasks to elevate your business. And another thing I like about EOS is a lot of those tips and tricks are very bite-sized, and it is not an operating system. You know, it's been probably 4 or 5 years at this point that I've been out of my EOS level 10 or out of this system, I guess I'll say, and I still have all of those tips and tricks readily available. So it truly is an operating system that you learn and download into your entrepreneur's CPU and implement. So that's awesome. I love that. You mentioned that
sorry, real quick. You mentioned level 10, right? And the beauty of it is these tools, they're simple, right? The ultimate form of sophistication is simplification. It gets everyone speaking the same language. You mentioned level 10, right? Just you didn't even think about it. And like the viewers are like, what is a level 10, right? And it's one of those tools that like once you get everyone speaking the same language, like everything becomes much more efficient. You have brevity and everyone is level 10. I know exactly what that means, right? And do they GWC? I know what that means. The IDS, and I know what that means. It's to the outsider, it's like, what on earth are these people talking about? But it makes everything in the business so much more efficient. You don't lose time. You don't lose productivity in the language because everyone is talking the same way.
Yeah, great point. And that kind of leads me to an example that I'd love for you to provide to the listeners. If someone is at a certain stage of business, give me, the type of business that really would benefit from EOS. Where are they at, maybe revenue wise, employee wise? I know you mentioned 10 to 200. And where are they trying to get? Let's talk to that hypothetical.
So the tools in EOS, they're timeless. They will work if you are a solopreneur. They will work if you are Exxon or Walmart. It's just much more complex when you have different business units and the scale you get. But what I found is EOS works best for companies with 10 to 250 employees. Right. That's when 10 is typically when that founding entrepreneur no longer has direct access to all their teams, so they can't directly download what's in their brain. Right. There's usually a level of management in between. But more importantly, it's how they think, right? EOS won't work unless you believe it works. So I found that the types of organizations, their leadership teams they're growth oriented, right? These leadership teams, they want help. They're willing to be open, honest, and vulnerable with themselves and others. They fear the status quo more than they fear change. So to make that a little more tangible, it's companies who are ready to scale, right? Companies who they've had some success, they've hit a ceiling, and they want to break through, but they've tried a bunch of stuff and nothing's worked yet. The other area where EOS is really popular are those companies who are looking for succession planning, right? They're trying to figure out these founders are trying to figure out the next season of their life. Sometimes they contemplate exiting, they contemplate selling. And my very first client was a CPA firm. And the visionary, the founding entrepreneur, got a valuation she didn't like. And the feedback she got was she was the business, right? She didn't have a management team. She had a book of clients. She didn't have proprietary software or anything like that. It was her genius. Processes weren't documented. And so she brought me in because she wanted to exit, and we built a management team, right? Delegate and elevate. That's so hard to do, but it's so powerful. We delegate things so we can work in our unique ability. We got all the processes documented, simplified, followed by all. They were using data, had an awesome scorecard to make better predictions and have a pulse on the business. And within 18 months, she sold for the price that she wanted. And what the most exciting part to me was it wasn't to an outside investor. It was to her management team, the homegrown people that we had developed over the last year and a half. And that was pretty awesome. So it's how do we get that founding entrepreneur who are usually wearing all the hats, right? They're the head of sales, head of marketing, they're the head of operations, the head of finance, head of HR, they're doing everything. How do we start giving those hats to others so we can elevate them into their unique ability, and we're elevating others to take on those responsibilities?
That's
right
huge.
people, right seats.
Yeah, I love that. When business owners are looking for those valuations, or if they're trying to structure a deal for an exit, A lot of times they do find out that they are the business, and it's something as simple as properly documenting processes, like you mentioned, having someone else that can kind of stick around and run the business after they leave, those middle managers, or what's the seat below the visionary.
We call that the integrator. So for the audience, right, the integrator, think of that as like the number two that runs the day-to-day of the business. So the visionary can do visionary stuff, which is driving culture and big relationships. And typically it's innovation, R&D, being the idea person.
Yeah, you add a ton of value to your business when there's someone able to help whoever comes in and acquires it to innovate and to move the business forward. So ton of value there, ton of value. Well, Nick, we're kind of coming up on the end of our time. Anything else you want to touch on with the viewers? How can they find you? What's the best way of getting in touch with Nick Whitney?
Yeah, LinkedIn is a great place. Nick Whitney EOS Implementer. I'm here in Charlotte, but I have clients all over the region. I love to help. If anyone out there is self-implementing EOS, it's just powerful. The tools are free. We believe in them so much. We make them available for free for anyone. So if you're out there dabbling or you've read one of the books in the EOS library, specifically Traction, talk to me. I'll give you 90 minutes of my time for free. I'll evaluate your tools, give you open and honest feedback, because I want you to succeed, right? That's my why. I want entrepreneurs to run a better business and live a better life. Live a better life of doing what you love with people you love, making a huge impact, being compensated appropriately, and having time to pursue other passions.
And one of the last things we'll do, and this will be the last thing, this is called the Legal Eagle Podcast. And one of the reasons I named it that is because, of course, I'm in the legal profession and I'm a big golfer. And an eagle on the golf course is phenomenal. That is, I may never see one. Who knows? In the golf world, par for the course, it's adequate. We're good with pars. Birdies are great, but eagles, they're exceptional. Give us a glimpse and translate exceptional results in your business. What does an eagle look like for you?
An eagle for me is when I'm able to graduate my clients, right? When I'm able to help them master the EOS tool so they no longer need me anymore, right? My days of consulting, it was all about how do we get deeper and get the next contract with the client. That always felt a little bit icky. So the promise I make to my clients now is, the average time is about 2 years. I'm going to teach you the EOS tools. I'm going to facilitate context and facilitate the process. I'm going to be your team coach. When you're stuck, I'm going to get you unstuck. Once you've mastered them and you're 80% strong in the major components, the 6 key components of your business, you're going to graduate. I want to help you achieve your goals. I want you to live that ideal life that I explained.
Thank you so much, Nick. It was good having you on.
Yeah, thanks, Shawn. Always a pleasure, my man.